Thanks, you all. That was really interesting. And we'll, after our last session here, we'll all move over to Lazy Otter Charter. Kelly Bender just informed me she's busily putting up a tent outside over their deck. And they'll have coffee. And then after that, we have a social at Oceanfront Cafe. I know Peter's going to be at the Coffee with Scientists. I think Kim's going to join us. I don't know what other scientists we have in the audience, but we'll be over there to talk and answer further questions. I want to thank our sponsors, Exxon Valdez Oil Spill Trustee Council, Oil Spill Recovery Institute, the City of Whittier, and Corinne, Chugach Alaska Corporation, our major sponsors. Other ones are VS Helicopters, Alpine Air Alaska, Colony Builders, Lazy Otter Charters. Kelly's also on our board. Rio Tinto, Melton Media. William's been very generous with his time. Babkin Charters. Alex is also on our board. And Prince William Sound Books. So lots of support. We've also had a group from Prince William Sound College join us as part of the Sea Kayaking Symposium. Hopefully that worked out for them. So we thank them for joining us. Last up, I'm very, very happy to again introduce Kim Aspelund. She's a Holistic Health and Traditional Plant Educator from Cordova. Kim?
I love all the questions about the stories, and that's one of the things in the Alaska Native culture that we love to do is to share stories. They're very powerful, and to go out into the villages and see all these traditional people tell their story and offer you tea and pilot bread and all these things that are just welcoming. It's just what I love. I love talking to the elders in the Alaska Native community. My name is Kim Aspelund. My family name is Webber. I was born and raised in Cordova. We've had 5 generations of our family there. And my parents are Bill and Irene Webber. My maternal grandparents are Susie Macheegan and Alec Donaldson. My paternal grandparents are James Webber and Stella Hansen. I am Supiaq, Alutiiq, originating from the Prince William Sound, from the village of Elamar, and whose ancestors reside in many villages in the Sound, including Chiniga, Tutitlik, and the historic village of Kinnickinnick. On my father's side, I am Kushkakwan Nuhit of the Fort House, a Tlingit Eyak Raven clan originating from old Yakutat prior to their life in Katella, but whose ancestors inhabited the Kaliak River and the Quantac Island. I worked in health education at South Central Foundation on the Alaska Native Medical Center campus for several years. I taught about our Alaska plants and how to use them for foods and medicines. I worked at Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium in health promotion. And back in the day, we had our very first Alaska Plants and Food and Medicine Symposium with a group of people. Initially, it started out as just the interested folks that loved the study of Alaska plants. Since then, it's grown to 5 years we did of regional plant symposiums out of Anchorage. And now we've moved into smaller regional. So ANTHC supports smaller communities and helps oh, thank you. And let me see. To hold the regional plant symposium. So in Cordova, we had our very first Alaska Plants as Food and Medicine symposium last year. We had people from Nanwalik and Chiniga and Tutitlik and Anchorage, Palmer. I live in Palmer now. But anyway, I love to talk about our plants and how to use them for foods and medicines, and I hope I don't go over time. I have a very big passion to talk about our plants, and we'll move right into it. So I also wanted to thank the foundation here for inviting me as a guest to speak, and very honored to be here, and hopefully you'll learn something today. Today, my focus is going to be on honoring our traditional wisdom, some harvesting guidelines, stages of growth. There's look-alike plants, one's poisonous and one's not, spiritual connections, how to use plants for foods and medicines, and sharing our stories. So traditional knowledge is really knowledge that's passed on from our grandmother, grandfather, one generation at a time. And up in the picture is Dr. Rita Blumenstein, who is our very first Alaska Native tribal doctor. And I worked with her for several years while I was at South Central Foundation and at ANTHC. And she was a very incredible woman. She was one of the 13 grandmothers, Indigenous grandmothers from around the world. And she taught me that you have to find your own way. And she had a way about her that as a traditional healer, tribal doctor, she had a way about her. And watching her in action was like, I just can't even tell you how it gave me goosebumps and how much I've learned from her. I studied with her for a few years, taking notes, hearing her stories, inviting her into my little cubicle for tea, and just listening to her and sharing what we knew about plants. She, before she passed, she chose me to be a traditional plant educator, to continue this knowledge, moving it forward to the next generation. I am a grandmother, and now I have the privilege to continue this knowledge forward. The practice of traditional healing and traditional knowledge is healing. So sharing what we know is healing for us to continue our story. And that's what Alaska Native people love to do. They love to tell their stories. They love to be outside in nature. They love to go fishing and hunting and gathering the plants and living a very natural subsistence lifestyle. So traditional values are very important. And I can barely read that. I need to put my glasses on. And these are values from our Alaska Native people that made a list of what values should be recognized as being important. And they're words that your grandmother would say, like share and listen and don't be boastful, be kind, don't steal, do the things that you know are right and be happy, be strong. Respect your elders, your parents, your teachers, and your community members. And there's plenty more. And there's some tips on ethical, sustainable harvesting. Harvest with your best intentions. Be aware of the energy and the mood while you're harvesting. Make 110% sure you're harvesting the plant that you intend to harvest, because there's look-alike plants that at the beginning stages of growth look exactly the same, and I'll go over those here shortly. When you go out to harvest and you're aware of your energy, make sure you ask permission from the plant if it's okay that you harvest that plant. Let the plant know why you're harvesting, for who, and for what you want to make. Harvest only what you need and allow enough time to clean and process your harvest. Harvest in clean areas away from electrical wires, garbage, contaminated areas, dog parks. Look where the plants are thriving, where you can see the vitality in the plant. And move around and not harvest in one area all the time. and know that you have to share these plants with the birds, the animals, and also other fellow harvesters. Dr. Rita taught me to leave something behind. She would leave tobacco. I would leave a blessing. I'd talk to the plant the whole time I'm harvesting and just being grateful and thankful. I don't sing very well, so I don't do that, but some people do. And it's just important to be in a happy mood when you're out harvesting. Let's see. So plants and people are interwoven. Without plants to supply food to the web of life, what would we eat? Agriculture dates back 10,000 years or more. We were hunters and gatherers. We rely on the plants for our food, for our clothing, for our buildings. And we rely on the plants to calm us down. Taking a walk in nature, in the forest, feeling the ground under our feet is very good for stress reduction. Maybe that's why I like to be out there so much. I don't know. But as you are out there, and when I'm out there, I started seeing these different things. I started to learn to look with new eyes because of what I was taught. And I began to wonder and realize how this earth and our human body have so many different similarities. Like, for instance, our body is about 65, 70% water, and the earth is the same. And we both require water, food, sun, and love. And we carry the same basic chemistry, storing information in our cells, in our DNA, just like the plants do. We use carbohydrates for energy, and we put proteins to work. And pictured here is just a branch that shows how they break off, and they kind of look like the arteries in our body. And there's a thunderstorm up there, and how that represents they're all three like connected or intertwined and giving us messages. So when you learn to look with new eyes, and the more I started to learn, I began to see the world and the plants and the earth, and made these similarities of how we look alike. And the reason why I was doing that is because I was studying anatomy, physiology, microbiology, and looking at all these different slides of epithelial cells and the different cells in our body, and learning. And one day I was taking a plane from Cordova to Anchorage, and I looked down at the earth, and below it looked like the cells that I was looking at under the microscope all the time. And I thought, oh my gosh, that looks just like our body cells. And how the ponds were, and how the branches of the alder looked like our bronchial tubes. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's happening? Am I going crazy? Am I making all these assumptions about how we're so connected? And I started learning more. And there's these books that I found, What a Plant Knows and The Secret Life of Plants. And they talk about what I just talked about, how we're so similar. And I decided I'm not crazy. I know there's other people out there that see things the way I do, and these books kind of confirmed what I know. And a lot of things you learn, you intuitively know. You know when it's right and when it's wrong. You know when things are thriving and when they're not thriving. And when I talked about approaching a plant with good energy, The Secret Life of Plants talks about that, and they did a study on plants, connected these plants with electrodes, and put the plant in this loud music, obnoxious people, bad energy, bad vibes, And then they took the plant and did an assay study to measure the antioxidant level, and it was very low. They took another plant and they put it in a room filled with love and good intentions and just a lot of good energy, and they measured the antioxidant level of that plant, and it was high. So being aware of the energy in your approach to a plant just tells me that when you approach the plant with this good, positive energy, you're going to get more from the plant than you would of being loud, obnoxious, and ripping the branch off the tree or whatever. You harvest it with love. And just like our Alaska blueberries, on an ORIC scale, I think it's 111, if I remember right. Our Alaska berries are at 111 on an ORIC scale, where commercial berries are very low, like 48 or something, 32. But the berries, when you harvest them in the fall, you wait until the temperature drops, because when the temperature drops, the chemistry changes in the berries and you get a higher antioxidant level in the berries than you would if you harvest when the temperature doesn't drop. That's one of the things I learned from my grandmother. We would go out cranberry picking and blueberry picking and Nagoon berries, my favorite. And yeah, so being patient and waiting for that vitality to enter that plant is very important. When I was studying nutrition, I learned a lot about how foods gave you signs that tell you how they're good for you. And the carrot, we know, is good for the eyes. It's full of beta carotene and scientifically proven. And how a walnut looks just like a little brain. The left side and the right hemispheres, the upper cerebrums and the lower cerebellums. Even the wrinkles that and the folds on the nut are just like the neurocortex of the brain. And we know that walnuts help develop over 3 dozen neurotransmitters for brain function. It's also been proven that the lycopene found in tomatoes has been linked to the reduction of heart disease. And you can see how a tomato resembles the chambers of the heart. The tomato has 4 chambers and is red just like the heart. And when you learn to see with your new eyes about these messages that the foods and plants are giving us, you can see that the cottonwood bud or the cottonwood bud stem there looks all crooked like an arthritic finger. So that's telling you that that cottonwood bud, cottonwood branch and the cottonwood medicine that you can make is good for arthritis. Just as when you look at a rose petal, you see it shaped like a heart, you know it's a universal medicine, and it's soft, so you know it's good for your skin. I'll go over more of the rose. When the earth was created, everything was created in pairs so that one could have a helpmate for another. The lynx and the hare were partners, and the plants all had partners too, except for spruce. And spruce complained to the great creator, wondering why it had no partner. And the great creator told spruce, it's because it was the most important of all plants. Creator said, your partner is humankind. And this story comes from the Denina Kaunutna by Priscilla Russell Carey. When I was beginning my journey into the plant world, I began to learn a little bit about botany. And there's a specific order that you identify plants to make 110% sure that you are harvesting the right plant. And I'm not a botanist, and I don't speak the Alutiiq words or the Yupik words like when you grow up with them. Then you know how to pronounce, and I'm not going to attempt some of these Alaska Native words for the same plant. But looking at this, the 2 pictures, there's Artemisia talesii and another one on Alaskana. I can't pronounce that. But but they're both in the lily family. And Alaska native names are stinkweed, wormwood, caribou leaf, sagebrush, wild sage, and Aleutian mugwort. Dr. Rita called wormwood wild sage. And Jiluk is the Yupik word for the same plant. So depending on where you're from, although they're talking about the same plant, they have different names. So harvesting with the seasons, know where the plant energy is in the plant, and know the plant at all stages of growth. I love this picture of the dandelion. It shows the beginning stages, middle, and the end. And the best time to harvest the roots is in the spring or the fall. The sugars and starches are stored in the roots at that stage of growth, where the leaves are in the spring, early summer. Before it flowers, that's when the energy is in the leaf of the plant. And when you do harvest the leaves from a plant, only take one or two from that plant to ensure the sustainability in the new growth of that and the continued growth of that plant. Flowers and buds harvest in the spring or summer, depends, like the dandelion buds at the very beginning, like right now, and maybe even a week or so ago. If you look down on the leaf of the dandelion, under the main bud, you'll see even lower the capers. All capers are flower buds. And I've harvested so many capers, and it's all this harvesting is like a true labor of love. You've got to be able to take the time and spend the time to process your plants when you're done. And then, of course, the seeds in the late summer or fall. So timing is everything. Harvest will at the peak season of the plant. Have a plan of what you want, know where to go, collect all your harvesting equipment. My basket is in my car like mid-April to the end of September because I'm planned, prepared, and ready to harvest whenever I'm driving and I see something or know of a place that's close where I know where to go. I'll stop with my equipment and harvest. But like the end of April or early May, cottonwood bud is my very first plant that I harvest. And I wait and I wait and I watch and I check and make sure it's at the highest vitality before I'll go and harvest the buds. One little trick, if you've never harvested the cottonwood buds, is they're very sticky. So I get a little Ziploc bag. I fill a little bit of oil in the bag, avocado oil or olive oil or whatever. I put my hands in it, get it all oily, and then I harvest the cottonwood buds off of the branch and put it in my basket. But they're very sticky. They're very messy. You'll have dirt underneath your nails for weeks harvesting those things because of the resin that comes out of the bud. They're very sticky. But I love the smell and I crave the smell. Come April, I am ready to harvest. Another thing that comes out in like May, now here we are. In May, I just harvested a bunch of fireweed shoots and I made my first batch of pickled fireweed shoots just the other day. The roots are still good. You can harvest the dandelion roots. It makes a really good coffee replacement. Spruce tips will be coming out soon. And as far as sea vegetables, bladderwrack, beach greens, goose tongue, bull kelp are coming up on their prime season. You don't want to wait too long for those. You want to get them, like I say, the most vitality. June, going to be looking for those beautiful rose petals, and then wormwood or Artemisia taleesii. I wait till June is when I go to Cordova and I harvest them off the Copper River Delta there at mile 27. It's just loaded with wormwood if you ever want to use that plant. And I'll tell you more about that plant as we keep going. In July, I'm looking for the fireweed flower, dandelion flower, but you don't want to wait too long because those flowers get infested with bugs and larvae, and it's just too late. So you really got to pay attention and watch what it is you're looking for. August, September, out comes the berries. And again, you try to wait until it hits 32 below or 32 degrees or below. The mistake I made, which I've made plenty of mistakes with all my harvesting over the 20 plus years, is that I thought the 32 degrees was in the daytime. 32 degrees hits in the night. So I can wake up and maybe it's 38 degrees. I can still go out and harvest my plants because the chemistry already changed. And I waited so long to get my blueberries or rose hips, waiting for that temperature to change, and they were shriveled up. So I lost my time, my perfect timing. When you're harvesting and as you learn more, not just identifying, but you begin to, how I learned, I began to know, what does this plant do? How does this plant help me? And there's qualities about the plants, and some hold plenty of these, but and I'll go through some too, but like you're going to look for an adaptogen plant, or you're going to look for one that's emulsive or an expectorant, something that's bitter. There's reasons why you want these plants. And to know what plant offers these different actions is like an alternative plant is like nettles, burdock, red clover, fireweed, dandelion. They help to restore the balance and long-term, they're good for long-term remedies. I drink nettle tea just about every single day. Devil's Club is an analgesic. It helps with pain and inflammation. Devil's Club, cottonwood, willow, all help with pain and slow down nerve pathways. There's lots of reasons to consider why you want to harvest these plants. And so that's just something to think about. And then what is it that you want to make? Once you know the actions, once you know the plant, then what are you going to use that plant for? Do you want to make a salve? Do you want to make a Devil's Club salve to help with aches, pains, arthritis, skin rashes? Do you want a cream to help with your acne, like wild rose? Do you want to make a tea to help with your digestion? What plants are you going to use? Maybe oxymel is a very good, I call it a soda replacement. So you mix, so what is an oxymel? It's an equal part of honey and apple cider vinegar, and you infuse a plant, say fireweed, into that mixture, and you let it set for a week or so, and let that energy of the plant infuse in the apple cider vinegar and the honey. You strain it, and then you add just a little bit into a cup because it's very strong, and you add some bubbly water, and it's super yummy and very good for kids that want, or for adults even, for a soda replacement. So going through some of these prevalent plants of Alaska, there's so many, and I'm going to briefly go over these 10, which I hope we don't run out of too much time. But like spruce is our partner. And the good thing to know about this tree is that it is good year round. But certain parts of the tree are good at certain times. For instance, the spruce tips will be coming out soon. So you'll want to harvest them in the spring. The roots right now are ready to make baskets or to infuse into a salve. The branches are good year round, and the sap on the tree is good to use the sap into a salve, or it's also known as nature's Band-Aid. So if you have a cut, you can put some of that spruce sap on the cut and help protect the plant. It's because of its qualities. It's antimicrobial, antiseptic, fungal, microbial, allergesic, and it's a disinfectant. It's good to put in the spruce tips into water and infuse it for nature's Gatorade, very high in vitamin C and antioxidants. And you know the story of Captain Cook, he made that spruce tip beer and saved his crew from scurvy. We used to chew the gum off of the spruce tree. We chew it as gum when we were kids. It's very good. Oh. So there's a stage of growth for wild rose. It starts as that beautiful little bud and turns into the beautiful flower petals. And there's a basket full of the petals that I harvest. Below each of these plants is also the genus species name and some of the Alaska Native names that I'm not attempting to pronounce, but you can see that they are listed there. After the petal, the plant changes into these beautiful rose hips. And the rose hips are called the labor of love, although all plants, when you harvest them and process them, is the labor of love. But I cleaned so many of these seeds out of those rose hips one time and made fruit leather and tea and so many different things with these beautiful rose hips. But those seeds have these hairs on them that are very bad for your digestive tract. So if you want to eat a rose hip just right off of the branch, don't eat the seeds, just spit them out. So the plant actions of rose is that it's, I said, antimicrobial, antispasmodic, and it's astringent. It's really good for the skin. It's a diuretic and it's emollient. So the good thing about wild rose is that it's used almost on every place on this earth. It's known as a universal medicine. And cultures from around the world value its fragrance, its beauty, its nutrition content, and its medicinal qualities. And there's many spiritual traditions that go with rose. It's known to be a protector. It's full of love and grace. And a rose is a rose is a rose. And you can use any rose, just not the ones that are store-bought, that are filled with pesticides and fertilizers and stuff like that. You don't want to use those for anything to ingest or to put on the skin. At the Baskins would burn the roses or burn the thorns off of the branch and then boil the stems and make a really dark brew. And they'd use that for colds, fever, stomach issues, eye trouble, and weak blood and menstrual cycles. A rose hydrosol or rose water helps balance the pH balance of your skin. And according to Steve Johnson, who is the author of The Essence of Healing, says that roses' healing qualities help us to remain open-hearted when we're faced with conflict or struggle. It helps build trust and encourages openness and helps us be courageous in our life. He also writes that it is good for life transitions. So maybe you got a new job or you're moving or there's a death or a birth. Rose has the power in it to help with those transitions. And it's also carries the highest vibrations of all plants on the planet. So it's very energetically good for us. Beverly Gray, who is the author of The Boreal Herbal, which I worked with on year 3 of our Alaskan Native Plant Symposiums, says that it takes 5,000 pounds of fresh rose petals to make 1 pound of oil. It's a lot of harvesting. So fireweed, it's one of Alaska's most prevalent and most beautiful plants. and it's very appealing to the eye. It's also called wild asparagus, and that's what I just harvested and what I just made pickled fireweed shoots that are now pickling in my refrigerator for about 2 weeks. And that first picture is in May. And then that's what it looks like in June. And this is what it looks like from fresh flower to dried flower. So knowing what it looks like when you're done processing it is good to help with identification. The names that you see here in the native languages, I used a book that I reference quite a bit. It is called The Medicinal Flora of Alaska Natives, and it's by Anne Garibaldi. It's a very, very good book that resources all the different native groups from around the state, the names and the uses for all the different groups. So like I says, knowing the different actions of a plant is very important. The Alutiiq of the Prince William Sound used tea for colds and flu, for constipation. You can make a poultice and garble it all up and put it on cuts and scrapes. The Yupik used it for constipation, stomach troubles. And in Russia, they would roll up the leaves and let that set for a few weeks. It's called Kapoor tea, very high in vitamin A and C. So fireweed has a look-alike plant. It's called river beauty. Although river beauty is called dwarf fireweed, and it only grows about 4 to 16 inches, where fireweed grows about 8 feet or more. The dwarf fireweed, river beauty, has leaves on the stem that are opposite, where the fireweed has the leaves on the stalk that are alternate. So in the beginning stages of growth, you can identify the plant by looking at how the leaves are situated on the stem. Neither of these plants are poisonous, but in the next few slides, you'll see some plants that one is safe and one is poisonous. There's 3 I've learned from, years ago, about the 3 guardian plants for the state of Alaska: Devil's Club, yarrow, and wormwood. And Devil's Club is in the ginseng family, and we know ginseng to make us calm and soothe us. I want to show you a few things on Devil's Club over here, so I hope my voice is... Okay, so the cool thing about Devil's Club is right now, I just harvest this just across the train tracks as you enter the tunnel. Oh, thank you. And when the tips are out, the roots are ready. So if you want to use the roots, which is very strong and more powerful than the stalk, it's time to harvest the roots right now. My prime time for me and my energy level is now to harvest this plant now, where my brother who has a broken neck needed the more stronger medicine for his body, so he would harvest the roots. And I never harvest the roots because I'm smaller, I'm petite, I'm kind of weak, you know, I feel everything affect my body. So I know I'm very highly sensitive. So this is what it looks like. And you can tell how old a Devil's Club stalk is by counting the joints. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I cut off, you always cut above a joint when you're harvesting on Devil's Club. And sometimes the joints are like 2 inches away or 1 inch away. Sometimes they're a foot away. It depends on where they're growing, what the weather's like, and what the energy of the land is like when you're harvesting. So took this off of that and I wanted to show you what I do. I take a paring knife and I scrape off all the thorns like that on the ground in the woods where it's not in my walkway where I walk. And it looks like this. It has you can see the beginning layers of the cambium layer. And what I do, let me do this way, is I take my knife and I put a slice down. Oh, I'm not going to cut myself as I cut myself. And then you peel back this, you peel back the cambium layer. You're peeling off this layer off of the stick or the stalk. And what I do is as soon as I harvest, I strip it because the longer you wait, the harder it gets. It likes to be peeled when it's fresh. And you can see the inside. Usually this peels a little bit better. And I knew something was going to screw up when I did this. You just never know how things work out. But I trust it's going to come off of this stick. But I'd like to pass this around so you can just smell it and feel the energy of it. And this is what it looks like. This is last year's stock. And I like to use these to make little beaded wind chime things. You know, I cut the stock and I put my beads down there. They're really pretty. But do you want to pass this around? You can smell it, you can feel it, or you can just come up and look after. But oh my gosh, I both. It was my very first plant that I learned. And so my relationship with this plant is like incredible. Very, very good connection. And it is considered strong medicine. And you know that I just said that the roots are stronger than the stock. People in the Alaska Native world would use this to ward off evil spirits, and they'd place these devil club stalks on their fishing boats for good luck. So back in the day when the shamans were observing the bears rolling around in the devil's club thickets, they realized that the reason those bears were rolling around in those thickets is because they were wounded, and that devil's club helped heal their wounds. Devil's club is also known as prickly porcupine or Alaska ginseng or Tlingit aspirin. So I just went through the, when you harvest, you can see here the tip is now. And when you see the tip, you want to get them when they're very small and tight. Like on the stalk I have here on the table, you can see that it's already starting to open up. And when it starts to open up, it's going to get the little thorns on it. So you don't want to use the tips at that time. The tall plant there with me standing underneath there shows the big leaf. That little tip turns into that big leaf. And there's some stalks that I harvest, and my dad at my table helping me cut the devil's club. The smaller you cut it, the more powerful it gets to be used into your salve. It's kind of like garlic. The smaller you cut it, the stronger it gets. And there's some jars of the devil's club salve. Actually, it's a guardian salve. I use all three plants when I make my salves. So devil's club, I know it to be an adaptogen plant. It's also antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, high in antioxidants, and it's an expectorant. Last year at our regional plant symposium, Nancy Yeaton from Nanwalek came and showed us how she dyes the devil's club stalk and how she makes beads out of them. So that first picture there with the white in the middle is it cut in half, and she scrapes that out and makes the beads, and she made a ankle bracelet. She uses the different plants to dye the devil's club stalk with, like the red one. I know she used fireweed, and I'm not sure what she used for the other what plants she used for the other colors there. I went to North Carolina State University with a group of scientists that worked with me when I took elders and youth to Whittier here. We would come here with elders and we would harvest. We'd go to the beach and I'd show them the bladderwrack and the beach greens and the plantain and the Devil's Club. And then we'd come to the inn here and have lunch, and the mayor, Lester, at the time would do a little history blurb for the elders. And you know how they just loved Lester. They were just like feeling like he was a movie star or something. It was pretty awesome. We'd have lunch and then we'd go down to Moose Pass and we'd gather more plants down there. So there's lots of fireweed, nagoon berries down there. And usually Alaska Native people don't share their secret berry spots. So I didn't tell you anything there. But being back here in Whittier just makes me happy, knowing I was here quite a bit. In the spring and the fall, we'd do harvest trips with the elders. But when I went to North Carolina State University, they had joined us on these Whittier trips. And as a group of scientists wanted to learn traditional ways about harvesting, and in return, they would teach us how to do the chemistry, how to do these assay studies and find the antioxidant level of the plants. So they gifted us a trip, me and another lady from UAA, to go down to their facility and work with the scientists. And I brought a handful of different plants, and we did different infusions on the plants to measure the antioxidant levels. And one of them was Devil's Club. And so we did a hot infusion and a cold infusion. And which do you think had the higher antioxidant level, the hot or the cold? We're from Alaska, and the plants thrive in the cold. So the highest antioxidant level of the Devil's Club was with the cold water. Oh, yarrow. Yarrow. Oh. Yarrow, I like to harvest in Palmer. The flowers can be white or pinkish colors, which are very beautiful. They're very fragrant plants, and any plants that are fragrant are really good for essential oils or for hydrosols. The good, I think the medicinal action of yarrow is that you can make a powder. So you dry it. Yarrow powder, and I'll have this one too. So I think it is really good for a first aid or a boat for your backpack. So you can help them with the purpose. We'll pass that around. Oh, and I'm getting so late. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So wormwood, I'll go quicker now. That's my dad out at 27 Mile where we harvest this Artemisia talisii. And that is the Artemisia hanging on my back deck in bundles for it to dry in the sun. A good thing about Artemisia is that you can put it in your boots when you're hiking or on a fishing boat, or anybody who stands up on their feet all day. Just put the leaves into your shoes and it'll help with sore feet. So, Dr. Rita told me that it's really important to teach about the poisonous plants. And this is a quote. She said, you have to teach about poisonous plants because there is the lookalikes. And pictured here is twisted stalk or watermelon berry. And also pictured is false hellebore. So at the very beginning stages of growth, before the berries come out, if you wanted to use the watermelon berry leaf, it looks just like false hellebore. The later pictures of false hellebore, it has a flowering top like that, and it doesn't look anything like the twisted stalk. But on this twisted stalk, you'll see in the red berry picture, it's very unique in its description because it has a little kink in the little stem where the berry hangs off. It's a very unique characteristic about a plant. False hellebore is highly poisonous. Don't touch it. Don't let kids go by it, and know that it does have a look-alike. And if you're not sure, just don't do it. So stinging nettles, Urtica dioica. I love this plant too. I just harvested a whole bunch the other day. You want to harvest it before the flowers come out, because as the flowers come out, the chemistry changes, and it's harmful for your kidneys. You want to harvest the stinging nettles with gloves, because they do sting, and the sting lasts a long time in your hands if you don't wear gloves. In order to deactivate the stinging quality of nettles, you have to steam it 110% or dry it 110%. And it's compared to spinach. And I also like to compare it to broccoli, because when you're out in the grocery store and you want to buy some broccoli, if you see the purplish tints on the broccoli, that's an identification sign that it's high in calcium. So looking at the nettles in the middle there, it's that purplish color. That tells me it's high in calcium. There's some comparisons here on nettles with different plants that I'm running out of time, so I won't go there. But just quickly, calcium, nettles has 2,900 and spinach has 2.96. So sharing plants with the animals, with the people, with your fellow harvesters, with the birds and the bees, knowing what it is that you're harvesting, knowing what the plant does, how it's going to help. Know that you have to have the time and the time to process what you harvest is very important. And just looking at some of these slides of just how Mother Nature makes things so beautiful in these plant pictures with the rain. Learning to see with new eyes and see all the beauty within a plant. Staying humble. And so just to wrap it up for today, I am thankful for the stewards of the land, all of you that help care for our land, our waters, our plants. I'm thankful for our ancestors who shared their knowledge and their ways. I'm very grateful to be here sharing this information with you. And I'm honored to have this passion instilled and entrusted in me from Dr. Rita, for me to pass on to you and all the next generations. And I thank you all very much for your time and your attention. So thank you. I'm done. Yay.
Thank you, Kim. And I-
Sorry I'm late.
Oh, no, that's all right. I think Kim might have some tea for us later, maybe?
Oh,
At the Coffee with Scientists, we'll have tea. We have one other special addition. So Mitch, come on up. I know it doesn't seem like maybe fire season out there right today, but it did yesterday. And so Mitch with the Force is going to come talk a little about fire safety just for a couple minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Mitch Lamberger, and I work for the Forest Service. I am the Wildland Fire Prevention Officer, and I work out of Girdwood. I just wanted to say thank you for the good work you've done out there, and the ability to keep fire out of the Prince William Sound. You guys have done an awesome job over the years. Continue that good record. Enjoy, have fires out there. Remember, leave no trace, build fires under the tidal line. And before you leave, make sure to drown, stir, and feel with the back of your hand. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. So again, continue that good record. Appreciate it.
And we have had fires out in the sound. There's a couple of them been, so it's a real thing. We next move on to Coffee with the Scientist at Lazy Otter. A couple announcements. Index cards. Contribute to a poem. You could be famous. Complete our survey. So as someone mentioned earlier, William mentioned we have a survey online. It really helps us plan for next year. We'll have Lazy Otter coffee and tea from 5 to 6:30. Then at Oceanfront, we have our social with food. I'd also like to add every year, we have all these sponsors that help us out with this, and it really wouldn't be, it'd be tough to do without it, without the sponsorships. What we're interested in as a board and organizing committee is what is this event worth to you? So feel free to come talk to any board member or organizing. So anybody who's on the board or organizer, raise your hand. William, Maya, Charlotte's here. Tim Leiden's here too. He's been shy back there. But thank you all for helping organize it. But please come talk to us and tell us what you think this is worth. Is it like monetary or time or what's valuable about it? It helps us plan for the future. We hope to see you tomorrow, and thank you all again for coming.